Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. I am so happy to be feeling back to myself with my super bouncy locks. Today, I would like to share something important with you. I love ducks. I wish that thumbnail that I had for the when they were talking about the bird with legs, I wish I would have used a duck because I found this shirt. And this is my duck shirt. I don't know what Oregon has to do with the ducks, and I don't really know what my fascination is with them. I just think they're cool. I think they're so cute. And the last interaction that I have with a duck, there's a place in my city called the Boardwalk, and you can use a paddle boat and you can get birdseed. And every summer, I love to go there and just spend a couple of hours with the paddle boat, and you can get birdseed. And then you can go on the water and feed them by hand, and a lot of them will come up to you. The last time I went, a bird, one of the ducks, I was feeding him and I had like these really long nails on, and he bit my nail. After he ate all the food out of my hand, he kept biting my nail, and his beak felt so hollow like plastic. Um, and it was just such a sweet experience for me because I could tell he wasn't trying to hurt me, but he was just really curious about what these things were on my hands. And I had a clear see-through glitter, and he just kept biting my finger, and I had to like move it. And you know, I offered him some more food. The other duck things that I have: duck soap dispenser, yeah, duck contact lens case. This was a gift from my sister, but of course I'm never going to use it because I'm not using it. I'm going to use it for my duck with this eye contact case. I also got a contact case holder. There's also Big Duck, but I keep my joy in there. I tried to start keeping like my earrings and stuff in here, but I just don't like it as much as using Big Duck. And then I also have my duck family. There's that duck. I don't have the most Christian name for him. I have breast cancer awareness duck. And lastly, I have giraffe duck. Great. Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we'll be reading Deuteronomy chapter 23. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Amorite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity in all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their 3rd generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be, when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates, where it liketh him best. Thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore, or the price of a dog, into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. For even both of these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in that all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be a sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt keep and perform, even a freewill offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth, when thou comest into thy neighbour's vineyard. Then thou mayest eat grapes thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbour, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbour's standing corn. I just thought I would make a mention of that. Without God, there is nothing but darkness. You are not in control of embracing it. That's all that's left. So you have to embrace the darkness. When you're in darkness, what you do, you can't see well. So everything that seems good, everything that seems like light, you have to question it twice. Can't believe anything because you're in darkness. And once you begin behaving in darkness, you will have things come to you because, again, it's a trick to get you behaving in darkness. Throwing your morals to the side because life isn't fair anyway, so why do you have to be the moral one? You're right. Why do you? If all you want are the things on this earth, you're going to understand that these people that are telling you that, number one, you might not even be able to see what kind of life they have. These people that give you this advice, they're never going to show you exactly what kind of life they have. So you always have to wonder, are they telling you the truth? Just because you can connect with someone on something doesn't mean you're getting the real truth about their life. Miriam spoke against another woman, Moses' sister. She was gossiping about another woman who was doing something honorable, and she was struck with sickness. She was struck with an illness for gossiping. And even though she was gossiping with Aaron, but Aaron wasn't affected by the illness, only she was. She was speaking against a woman who was honorable, honorably married to her brother. I just want to bring up these things about speaking against women, having negative feelings about other women, embracing that darkness, throwing morality to the side, because why should you be moral if life isn't fair? You're right. But just remember, without God, there's nothing but darkness. You don't have a choice. Just want to point that out. None of my business what you choose, because I also understand in this world, as a woman, they are going to tell you, hey, do all this, be a moral person, and then you're going to do it, and you're going to see, wow, there's hardly any support for that. I know. That's why it's so important to develop your own relationship with God, because if you don't, these things on earth will make you be distracted away from Him. Summarizing Deuteronomy 23, Moses is continuing his extended farewell address to the second generation of Israel out of Egypt. Verses 1 through 2. If a man's testes are wounded or his member is cut off, he cannot enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard can't come to the congregation of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. When I read this, I typed in what is the point of castration other than, sex change. And the term that I got, or one solution, eunuch. This makes sense that someone like a eunuch would be around during this time. And this would also be something considered a practice for another belief system. So, not that the Bible said that, but I just could not think, why would someone want to do that to themselves? I didn't even think eunuch. So, man that doesn't have his parts, or a person who's a bastard, can't come to the kingdom, the congregation of God. Then we have verses 3 through verses 5. No Amorite, no Moabite can enter the congregation even until the 10th generation, since they tried to curse you, Israel. So in Numbers chapter 22, in Numbers chapter 21, this is the reference that they're talking about, saying that the Amorite Moabite tried to curse Israel. In Numbers chapter 21, Israel tried to gain access to King Sihon's Amorite territory. They just needed to pass through. They said, hey, yeah, we will go straight through. We won't drink any of your water. We won't do anything, because they had well water. So we won't take any of your stuff, right? And instead of accommodating them or just saying no, they went to war with Israel. And so God gave them favor. They utterly destroyed them. And then when we get to the next chapter, then you have King Balak, who was in the neighboring territory, who this group of people started being fearful because they saw what Israel just did to the Amorites. So that was in Numbers chapter 22. And instead of cursing them, because King Balaam was employed to curse Israel, but Balaam went to God and said, hey, God, what do you want me to do in this situation? He blessed them in Numbers chapter 23 and Numbers chapter 24. And then when we look at Numbers chapter 21, Balaam was killed by Israel in a separate matter. It wasn't even named as a king in Numbers chapter 31. So that's what this is referencing. This is referencing those things that we just went over. But right now we're at verses 3 through 5. The Amorite, the Moabite can't enter the congregation until the 10th generation. And then it also says here, the Lord God would not listen to Balaam. So this is Moses talking. We have to be aware that Moses has been talking to Israel since Deuteronomy chapter 1. We are now on Deuteronomy chapter 23. This man is 120 years old. The next chapter or the next video, I have the notes where he's 120. But he's 120 years old now. And so, like when we saw Numbers, Deuteronomy, Numbers, Exodus, Leviticus, we saw that God commanded Moses. God commanded Moses. We have not seen that one time in this chapter where God commanded Moses. Moses is recalling all of this off of memory, not to undermine the message or anything, but we just need to be clear that Moses is talking the entire time, and we don't see where God is commanding him. Now we can pinpoint, there's margins, there's notes in the margin of the Bible that I have. I have a big back King James because I am a true Bible thumper. And in the margins, there are cross-referencing. So you'll see in the margin where it'll have one reference and it'll have the chapter and verse. And so that's how I'm able to get some of these, but then some of these I have to find them. But the point is that I'm trying to make here, God will not hearken unto Balaam. Why would he say that when Balaam was the one who actually went to God and he was faithful? It's already kind of a mess up situation that Israel killed him after he was the one who listened to God on Israel's behalf and didn't curse them. But now his memory is his memory is that, Balaam was with them and they all tried to curse us. A small difference or a small thing, but just something that just kind of had me like, that didn't translate over, I guess. Okay. And so then he says, so the curse that Balaam meant for you back then in Numbers 21, God turned it into a blessing for you. So right now we're at Amorite, Moabite can't enter the congregation. And then it says at the very end, do not seek their peace, their prosperity, their friendship. Never. You're going to have beef forever. Okay? Then we have verses 7 through 8. Do not hate the Edomites. He is your relative, and do not hate the Egyptians, since you lived in his land. Their third generation offspring can enter into the congregation. Okay, so the Egyptian kids and the Edomite kids at the third generation can enter into this congregation. And we have to remember, Jacob/Israel. Jacob is Israel's real name. These are the descendants of Jacob/Israel. And remember in Genesis chapter 25, Jacob is a twin. Jacob and Esau. Esau is his brother, his twin brother that he stole his birthright from. These are the children that are the descendants of Jacob, and the Edomites are the descendants of Esau. So that's why this is saying, hey, don't hate the Edomites, because those are your relatives, your distant cousins. And then when we Exodus chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 46, that is evidence, or those in those chapters, this is being mentioned that Israel lived in Egypt. Okay, so that's verse 7 through 8. Verses 9 through 10. When your armies go to war, stay away from unclean things. Send away unclean men. Have them wash with water during the evening. He can come back once the sun sets. Then we have 12 through 14. And what this is saying, cover up your excrement. This is basically saying when you set up a place outside your camp when you're going to war, where you can poo in a hole, cover it, and cover it. Yeah, cover it and cover it. Yeah. Yes. Cover your excrement. Don't let God be turned away by your uncleanness. So this would serve more than one purpose. I mean, it would serve the purpose of just getting the disgusting stuff out of the way, but also, that could cause sickness, and it could help your enemies find where you are, because if you have a bunch of men doing poo in the camp, your camp is going to smell really bad. So then you're going to let them smell where you are. Okay, they didn't have stand-up showers and all that back then, so you're definitely going to be going a couple of days without a bath at war. No baby wipes, nothing to help freshen up. Okay, then we have verses 15 through 16. Allow escaped slaves to live in your city. Do not oppress them. Verse 17, there shall be no whore among the daughters of Israel, and no sodomite or perverted one. And we see here cult prostitute, and they're using that term for both in this the English Standard Version, but we do see sodomite nor sons of Israel. And in this term, sodomite is just meaning unnatural sexual activity. It is used as disparagement for someone with a gay sexuality. It's often offensive, but you look at the root word sodomy, it's stigmatized sex acts, people of the same sex. I mean, when you think about what a prostitute would do, you would do whatever your customer wants you to do. And most of the time, your customers are probably going to be men, since women can't earn money. So, but there is an interesting thing that I saw about with sacred prostitution. And this is in Wikipedia. We know that Wikipedia can be easily modified, but this even during this time, was a way for women to earn independence and money. So we know that women were not permitted to own property unless it was a special circumstance, like in Numbers chapter 27, even though we see later um, in Numbers chapter 36, I think. Yes, Numbers chapter 36. So, Numbers chapter 27, they were the five sisters who had no male heir, and they were interested in getting the property for themselves. And so, these men in chapter 36 that were also Israelites started to become concerned about what these women were going to do, what was going to happen to their property. They already got their own portion, but they're so worried about what these women are going to do. So that's kind of the I'm so tired of hearing like the word dynamic and salacious. It's just so annoying when people get a new word and they just overuse it. So I don't want to use that word again. Just that was the culture at the time. Women couldn't really have anything unless they were married to a man. So even during this time, a woman's sexuality was taken and they were able to have jobs being a prostitute for a temple. And this was sort of considered sacred. It was, of course, it's pagan, but I mean, some of these, when you read like sacred prostitution in Wikipedia, I mean, again, this isn't the most reliable source, but when you just read through it, you can see how it really does reflect how the sexuality and sex work and, you know, dancing in the club, how all that sort of goes together, where it's always marketed as a woman can have her independence if she sells her sexuality. She can have independence. She doesn't have to worry about a man. When there actually are better solutions that a woman could have independence and not have to sell sexuality. But this was the first way that a woman could earn, or I don't even believe that. I believe there were other things women can do that we'll probably see later on in the Bible, because there were women that were maids or housekeepers. And I'm just pretty sure there were women that did other things like mending clothes or just other things, cooking. We even saw in Leviticus when they were constructing the temple how there were women that were acting as greeters. Miriam was a praise and worship leader. So women were able to do other things. But again, like today, sexuality is marketed as this is a way you can earn independence away from a man. You don't have to do anything but sell your body and you can have this money. And it's kind of the same deal when you get to reading this. Okay. And then we have verse 18, the price of a dog. Okay, do not bring the fee of a prostitute or the wages of a dog. And it's this is translated as male dog, male prostitute. Look at the Interlinear. What chapter is that? What verse is this? 18. Okay, you should bring the harlot or price of a dog. Okay, so it does say dog in the Interlinear, and when we look at these other translations, it does say it would make more sense for a dog to be referring to a man or a male prostitute. We look up the term dog in, so we have here a worthless or a contemptible person. So even though every entry listed under a term can be, a term can, well, all the stuff underneath the term can mean that the term can encompass all of that. So it means a carnivorous animal, but it also means a worthless person. So that's what this could be calling it. Don't bring the wages of a prostitute or a male prostitute, but it's like worse when you're a man because, or the language changes when it's a male prostitute because, a male prostitute is usually going to involve, it's going to involve homosexual activity. So I honestly think that same attitude of a man being, like that, I think that's reflected here. There is, men do feel uncomfortable because, again, this is Moses talking. This is not God talking. This is Moses talking. That's important because we need to know who's saying these things. So we're not getting offended saying God said this. God didn't say this. Moses is saying this. So God is calling this man a dog. And that sort of reflects how we see that attitude with men sometimes. Verses 19 through 20. Don't charge interest from your fellow Israelite, but you can charge interest from outsiders. Then you have verses 21 through 23. When making a vow to God, don't take your time to pay it. Don't be slack. God will hold you accountable. This is sinful. It is not sinful to decide against making a vow, but you need to honor your vows to God. Then you have verses 24 through 25. You can eat your neighbor's grapes, but don't put any in your vessel. And vessel is just like something to a container, you know. So don't be greedy. Take a couple of grapes, you know. And we're also seeing that same thing with kernels. You can pluck kernels or heads of grain because that's what this is meaning. And they're just translated differently as sickle, heads of grain. But don't harvest it with a sickle. Like don't go and start plowing your neighbor's corn or grain. So that is all I have for this chapter. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.